All right, so yeah, get this. Stephen Molyneux. Why liberals, such as myself, reject freedom. And this is going to be a study in how Stefan thinks and the assumptions that Stefan makes and just exactly how ludicrous Stefan thinks. All right, go ahead, Stefan.
If you believe, and we'll just, whether it's right or wrong doesn't really matter right now, but if you believe that you can't really achieve very much, that you're not very smart, that you don't really want to work very hard, that's not really going to pay off for you,
Ooh, let me. Where could he possibly be going with this? Let's see.
then the free market versus government subsidies is not very appealing. Why? Because we're mammals. We want the most resources. And
But okay, so we're having a problem here. I think it might be clear where he's going with this. And I have always felt like I could succeed. And the success that I have given up, I still think I could have succeeded. And I was trying something else. And now that that didn't work, I'm succeeding in a new way because I just have to set my goals. And if my success is monetary, then I go make money. And if it's romantic, then I go find someone lovable. And, it's sad all these tragedies happen and while that goes on and all the mistakes, but it's not been that I ever thought I couldn't do it. If anything, I was overconfident. So, why am I liberal? And why do I reject freedom again?
I won't even say with the least amount of effort at the moment, but let's just say we want the most resources. And if you're not that smart, or if you just don't have any confidence that you're smart or can achieve things or can work hard or whatever, it kind of doesn't matter whether it's real or not. If you believe that you're not,
But see, I'm a liberal and I am smart. I'm smart. I think I smart. I smart too. And so, and I make my own way in life. And even when I can go on a public program, I basically never do, though I've been on unemployment twice in my life. So, um, uh, but I got back far less than I paid over the 30 years that I've been working into that particular program, let alone the ridiculous amount of taxes um, that I'm proud to have paid.
not competent, you're not, because you won't take the steps to be competent. You won't assume it. So
So this is all about how liberals are. This is what liberals think. None of us are ambitious. He, he hasn't noticed any liberals that are go-getters, right? There's no liberals that are go-getters. George Soros is lazy. He supports liberalism because he wants a handout. He's hoping to get a handout worth even more billions than he made from working his ass off.
so if you believe
Or alternately, from exploiting vulnerable economies. Those could both be true.
deep down that you're going to get more resources from the government than from the free market, then you're going to be more pro-government. And you
Well, I think we're seeing a little bit of projection here, Stefan, because uh, must just be showing that you think you can get more from the free market if other people don't get free things from the government. And you're revealing how you must think about these decisions. Because, no, I'm concerned with carrying people that could be productive and aren't. Uh, but my thinking, it's the other way around, and I'll be one of the people uh, not having to be productive. That's not my motivation because given that opportunity, I'd still rather be productive because being productive, like that you think it's productive, not that somebody else counts it as productive, but doing something that you think is productive, that's what makes life worth living in spite of the tragedies. So,
going to view the free market as an enemy because you have ideological this. No, because you're going to get more money from the government than the free market. Right? So a single mom with two.
well, just to be clear, my opposition to the free market is it doesn't even make sense. If there's not rules, there is no market. When you say free market, you're thinking no rules, but it's the rules that create the market so that people can come and trade freely. So, free trade, yeah, free market, when you mean free from rules, then there is no market. Just in the jungle, just out in the woods, at night, there's not a market. A market is something created by people to enable trade, to make trade more free and easy so it can happen more fluidly. It's a thing we invented because it's useful and cool. It's not free of rules.
Two kids in the US has to start making $65,000 a year in the free market to match what she's
Bullshit.
getting in free stuff from the government. Now, it's really hard when you have two kids to go out and get a job that pays
Especially if you weren't smart enough to have someone help you. I've seen this video. This is my second time through.
$65,000, particularly if you haven't had the foresight to marry a guy who's going to stick around and have two kids with you and be a provider.
But that guy that did have those two kids, he sure had foresight, huh? Because he had the foresight to choose a woman who didn't want somebody to stay around. She just said, I just want you to have sex with me and make babies and leave. Or maybe she thought he was going to stay in some of the cases. Hard to know, but we know what you think.
So she goes and has the two kids because that gives her more resources than she could probably command in the free market, at least in the short run.
Right. That's real realistic. That's what's going on in the head of these kids. That they're all doing financial plans. It's not like they're out partying, having a little meth, drinking a half a bottle of Everclear, and fucking their brains out without protection and ending up pregnant. It's not that. No, they were sitting down and they're going, you know what? Let me tell you something, Stefan. People that sit down and plan out their future don't plan on uh, public assistance, except in very few cases, like the Wild and Wonderful Whites, which, is almost a social protest. Society created that phenomenon. Not people sitting down planning to have two kids. You know what? I would have to work really hard to make a lot of money, so I'm going to have two kids and live in a shitty situation. I wonder if I could find a guy that'll have sex with me and then just bugger off and not have anything to do with the kids. Well, that'd be a good plan. This is what Stefan really believes. This is how he imagines. When Stefan writes a novel that has people, a cross section of characters from all across the United States, in other words, his novel's going to be even flatter and less um, real than an Ayn Rand novel. That's, I'm sorry, that's mean. I shouldn't have gone that far. That's too far.
And I've heard this, and I was taking my daughter to a playground and mentioned this before. I was listening to these two women. I mean, they sounded like they were speaking another language. All the
Oh, that's right. I didn't watch this all the way through. We're now to a part I haven't heard. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
acronyms of the government agencies they were using. Well, if you do this and you can apply to that, then they'll give you an extra $600 a
What
month.
did he say? He was in the park. This is
Two
allegedly
women.
him in the park.
I mean, they sounded like they were speaking another language. All the acronyms of the government agencies they were using. Well, if you do this and you can apply to that, then they'll give you an extra $600 a month. But you can get this thing for a dental credit over here under this plan with this acronym, and then these guys will give you, whatever subsidized daycare, and you can put it all together. And I've got a package which gets me this amount of money, but I had to go here.
Well, geez. I mean, but Trump is a fucking genius for hiring a guy that knows all the tax loophole programs. That's just smart. But these women, how degraded must you become before you figure out the programs that are specifically designed to help people that fall into the situation you find yourself in? Oh, so smart for Donald Trump to fucking rob billions he ought to be paying this government of the country he loves so much and the VA he wants to pay for so much but not out of his own pocket. That's smart. But if two women, imaginary women in the park, are talking in an imaginary another language, like two welfare accountants, oh, how terrible that they should be sharing information about, which probably would come up because, oh, my son has a cavity and I can't fix it. And the woman's going, no, there's a program here and da-da-da-da-da. That's good. That, fuck you, Stefan.
Here, and I had to apply here, and you can't have something, you can't have your man living with. They were just going through all of this, like what it was like watching some magic card trick. The guy just the cards are a blur. Like all of their resource seeking, completely amoral.
Oh, of course, the magician's a man, though.
Of course, and in no sense that the guy pushing his daughter in a swing is the guy who's going to fund all his parasitism, but it is that they're just doing the calculation, and they're saying, look, I can get the equivalent of $3,000 a month with my two kids, as long as
Yeah, but you didn't say you overheard him saying, and that's why I don't want a job.
there's no guy around, and I do this, this, and this. I don't remember the number exactly, but it's something like that. And if they want to go and get $3,000 a month in after-tax income in Canada by working for somebody else, well, that's challenging and complicated, and they don't get to sit there in a park on a sunny day watching their kids play and discussing how further to prey upon the body politic. But there are people who have a sense of what they can do in the free market. They have a sense that they can get more resources from the free market than they can from the government. Now, in the
Well, look, I'm a liberal, and I figured that I could probably do better if I didn't get on public assistance. I would do better if the government wasn't monitoring my bank account. I would do better by finding the skills that I had that were marketable and hoping that they were related to things I enjoyed doing so much I would do if I was a trust fund baby. Which sometimes I've said things about trust fund babies that make the trust fund babies think that I don't like the trust fund babies because when you talk about trust fund babies, you got to talk a little bit of jelly because come on, you guys are so fucking lucky. But and some of you, oh, can be so annoying, but only in a good way. I believe the trust fund babies, especially the moderate income ones, that then filtrate the hippie community, buying houses out in the woods and living cool ways, and they got their 50, 70, even more, in there, but they're cool people. That's You're great. You're one of the few ways that the wealthy people's money comes back to the work people, to the regular folks. So it's good, but it can be annoying.
short run, yes, they might get a little bit more from the government, or they might even get a lot more from the
I
government.
love my
But people
trust
who are
fund
smart
guys.
know that once you
Love
get
you
on the
guys.
government treadmill, sure, you might get $3,000 a month, but in 10 years, you're probably still only going to be getting $3,000 a month.
Whoa! Thanks. This guy's definitely doing a service here because he's explaining to you guys that it's possible to make more money uh, than you get on public assistance out there in the regular market. You know, that's a good thing to, because people didn't know that. We were under the impression that the very richest people were all on welfare. What's this, Stefan? Please explain further.
Hmm.
But if you go in the free market, maybe you start at $1,500 a month or $2,000 a month, but in 10 years, you might be making $10,000 a month. And so those people are going to be very interested in the free market because it's going to get them more resources. And I'm not saying it's only about
$10,000 a month? What's that crap? That's not very ambitious. $120,000 a year. Are you surly?
this. But I think that's an instinctual level that people come at it on, which is why when you get lower, like the welfare state is bad enough in high IQ populations, but at least in high IQ populations, it's
Like Jews, he must mean.
more valuable to go into the free market for the majority of people than it is to be on welfare. But when we start to get low IQ populations coming in, whether that's cultural or genetic doesn't really matter right now.
I'm sick of this low IQ bigotry. Like automatically, low IQ people are bad for your society. No, they're not. Okay, first of all, there's a lot of jobs that we just need to make them tolerable that the low IQ people can do, and they're perfectly happy to zen out. If they're the kind of job you could smoke a doobie while you do it, let them do that. Make it easy on them like they want. They get those jobs done. The automation, those jobs will go away, but somebody, maybe a robot could clean the park, and we want a human. I don't know. Uh, they'll last for a little while. That's good. The other thing is, God knows they know how to throw events at parties. They're the ones that think up all the, like, it wasn't any super genius figured out skateboarding. But then it turned out cool enough that super geniuses are like, yeah, I could do this. But they're not the guy that's going to think that up. You got to have a crazy genius, stupid genius. Like, that's stupid to do that. Fuck, that guy's a genius. He pulled that off and did not die. But then he died. But anyway, he invented it. Stupid people have contributions. Low IQ. I don't even want to call you stupid. You'll think that's an insult. Low IQ, whatever. They're all supposed to be insults. But, people of unique intelligence have plenty to contribute to society because they have just as high a chance of being of good character. And if they're not of good character, their lies are not sophisticated and it's easy to figure out, which is also a plus. Whereas intelligent people, when they go bad and have bad character, oh, the amount of trouble that they could solve.
you get a whole different decision matrix because lower IQ populations will get more out of the government than they will out of the free market, which is why they often will tend to vote for the left. I mean, it's not that complicated. It's, they may not be smart, but they're cunning and they know, which way
They're
the
not
wind blows.
smart, but they're cunning. Oh, that's the oldest bigot trick in the book right there. Fuck you. Like like with Obama, people were doing it. He's an idiot, my conservative rebels. He's an idiot. He's an idiot. He's also a mastermind. She's making a Leninist takeover. It's just so slow and gradual. We're like frogs getting boiled. He's an idiot mastermind Manchurian candidate with the 45-year-long plan hatched by his mother and her lovers, and now he's an idiot, but he did manage to keep this secret and work this plan all the way until he became the president, a Manchurian candidate from Kenya who's an idiot super genius, cause he's stupid but he's got cunning. Oh, fuck you. 100% funded by idiots. Fuck. God. That was fun though. I could make these kind of videos if I just have a series called, uh, I could call it Viewing Stefan Molyneux. Now, Peter Molyneux, there's a good Molyneux. Stefan Molyneux, who probably his cousin, not such a good Molyneux. The worst Molyneux I know. And I know one really good Molyneux, Peter Molyneux, the creator of Bullfrog, um, software that made Powermonger, and Magic Carpet, and Black and White, which I never played. I might have jumped the shark by then, but Powermonger, and oh, what was the God one? He made a God one. I forget. It was awesome. But this is a different guy. This is Stefan Molyneux, and not he's not the top of the Molyneux clan. I'll tell you that. Not in my educated judgment. All right, let's see what comments, if any. Oh, there's some comments in there. Somebody said, "What happened?" Time. That is true, he says. A human race is naturally evil. That's just a fact. I don't think it really comes down to that. Oh, Dynacat Love Me Hive said, they're probably all long gone now, but this is like over the whole 20 minutes or whatever. Stefan's fruit hangs too low. Okay. I blame this is this says I blame the extreme feminist and extreme male right activists for why Trump wins. Yeah, but no. I think that the in the and it's this is it comes as a concession, but I've noticed. Look, these Democrats aren't really as liberal, but I was thinking, well, they're on a spectrum that's just not over all the way to liberal as me. But no, that's not true. They're not on my spectrum. Their face mask of liberality is very much like a Southern strategy kind of a thing. They've embraced identity politics. They've said, look, I don't hate gays and black people so much that I have to say so in public or pass laws to telegraph my position. They write in their emails to each other things that are kind of racist sounding to me, but they're kind of like, but it's not serious. We don't really want to put people in camps. So, and they really have come to accept and believe that. However, that's just identity politics, right? And that's what the extreme feminists are taking platform, boom, boom. And here's the thing: how can they say identity politics is good? Vote for a woman because she's a woman. Vote for a black man because he's a black man. How can they say that's okay? And obviously, it's not true. Like Barack Obama, if he was just being a black man, that wouldn't have done it. He's a commanding speaker and all of the things you actually need to campaign, and he's a much better campaign general. The strategy of it than Hillary or anybody she hired. But if they're saying that you should vote to identity politics, but white male identity, then they shouldn't, or what we're supposed to adopt as a philosophy, just a principle of guilt because we're in that identity. I'm sorry, not only was I never a rich, privileged white man living in the 60s, but I come from poor people. And so I was never one of these people that owned slaves. That's not the stock I come from. And in fact, I'm a descendant of who's that guy? John Brown, who did the slave revolt or tried to. All right. Free Bethlehem says Molyneux is cringeworthy. Yeah, I have to admit though, I watch a lot of his videos. The best one I saw is when he talked to a guy that called in about the flat Earth, and he's trying to do his things. But yeah, and he doesn't really know how to prove that the Earth is not flat. And he's so objectivist. It's like he's obviously just like, because everybody knows, and which is fine because in this case, yeah, everybody knows, and lots of people could check. But but the guy really explained well. I thought it was a good portrayal of why people believe this kind of thing anyway. Um, but he is cringeworthy, but I find it quite watchable. Nicholas De Silencio says Fable. People comment this. I do this. You comment when you hear something, and it's like now I'm looking at the comments. Now Gary would insult you. Fable. What are you talking about? Fables. Fables. What's that have to do? I'm sure I said something that where fable makes sense. Okay, Pikachu. Oh, back from earlier. I think Molyneux occasionally makes good points. I think he's hit and miss, kind of like watching Gary and Mendem. I think he makes less and less good points over time because he's totally jumped the shark. Now, I always thought it's crazy, but I would be willing to say made some points, advocated some things. For example, I think how early on back in the day, how he was talking about child abuse as an extension of the whole kind of slavery and controlling other people phenomena of not letting people be individuals. I thought that was good. I thought a lot of his early stuff on um, dispute resolution organizations was good. I argued with him about that. He didn't really ever engage, but because you need an ultimate DRO, so you still need it. On the other hand, there's very interesting ideas in that doing using arbitration and civil procedures and people learning how to make agreements without going to court, pre-court methodologies like the arbitration is when it's at its best. But then he started being pro-Trump and pro-borders and it's just a pro anti-feminist and it's just like and so traditionalist and then so he's against beating children but he's a traditionalist. Well, traditionally we beat children, so fuck him. This is this this it his. That's great. I'm trying to figure out how to pronounce that properly. This it his I think is better than this I this, or it could be this I this. Maybe that's what you intended. The two sides keep yelling at one another. That's why I blame extreme feminists and extreme male right activists. Okay, blame. I kind of half agreed with you. Blame is where the key comes. No, I don't quite blame that. I think there's a bigger social phenomenon. In terms of who's fucking annoying, yeah. I mean, I certainly wish, you know, people on the supposed progressive side would, stop yelling at white men with dreadlocks because they're probably not the problem for you. It's not expropriating culture when you meld. It's the American way, and that's why we want a multicultural where you can keep your flavor. It's so that I can go down to the Thai restaurant and have dreads and wear patchouli oil and uh, drink Chinese tea, and I can do all of that. That's there's no beauty to it other than that. If it's all supposed to be kept separate, then yeah, it would be kept separate. So these people that want to keep this identity separate and somehow, no. It's like if in Native American cases where they're using racist ideas, that's not okay. If they're using it just because of an homage, like you would when you name anything or a team or something out of your culture, then that is not a problem, right? It's just a problem that institutionalized bigotry, right? Bigotry that people are taught is okay or that they even have to think normal. Well, Pikachu says, I love Molin who brings up controversial topics, etc., etc. Yeah, I agree. No, and that's why I listened to Rush back in the, late 80s before he was even well known. Listened to him in California because he was like the only guy on there talking about politics in a radio program in the day, not sports or other things. So it's like if you touch the topics, then that's good. So I'll give Stefan that to this day, in that he doesn't understand reasoning and logic, and he does any of that stuff that he says. But it's good that he takes an approach where he's saying that that's what should be applied. He's just insufficient to the task. He's totally retarded on economics. And now, worse than that, he is inconsistent. All right. Trump is not a libertarian. Walls are not libertarian. Oh, yeah, he does that. Free Bethlehem says, this is the last comment. So he says, I also watch it, but I can't stand how often he goes off on tangents trying to prove how intellectual he is for a minute at a time. Yeah, I know. And he shuts up his callers in such a way as like, now let me tell you, I know a little bit about databases and I'm going to seem real smart. I'm just explaining it to the audience, or this kind of stuff, which, um, or even in the beginning of this video where he says,
If you believe, and we'll just, whether it's right or wrong doesn't really matter right now, but if
see, whether it's right or not, that's an intellectualism. When you believe in dabba da dabba da dabba, arbitrary, meaningless, empty, parenthetical, it's an intellectualism. It's an example of that. Somewhat subtle, but I noticed it. Okay, cheers. Bye.